Hey guys, it's Marco. So when I use Strava, I normally manually name my runs after every run. I've been doing this since I started, and I just increment up. So I started at run 1, and now, every run we do increases by a number. But this is annoying and manual, so I thought, I want to try and learn Rust a bit better, and I want to make me not have to do this manually. So I thought, what better idea than to make a nice little backend web service that listens to Strava activities and then updates them as we go. So that's what I did. So starting in this main function, I define the server. Here in the server, you can see I can subscribe to the Strava webhooks and handle new events. So what this means is after I subscribe, every time a new activity gets posted on Strava, the Strava API will send me a post request that is handled in this handle webhook function. Going to this, if it's an update, we do nothing. If it's a delete, we reset the count, which I'll show what that means later. And otherwise, what I do is first I get an auth token, and then I rename the activity. So going to this function, get an auth token. What this does is make some sort of request where it puts in the client ID, client secret, etc. And then once it has this, it just requests using the expected path, which you can see here. This is all defined in the Strava API. We can rename this new activity. We check if the runs is -1, which means it hasn't been calculated yet. And the reset will just reset this to -1 if an activity gets deleted. And then what this does is we get all activities. So this is a nice little, we do some paginated queries until we get all of the pages and all the activities, and we count the different types of each. After that's done, we get the latest activity, and we update the name based on the amount of runs or swims or whatever that it is. After that's done, we will update it with the new activity. So go in this update function. Just calls the Strava API again with this activity path, you can see here, and updates it with this new field. So we update the name to this new activity name. So yeah, that's pretty much how it works. You can see I deployed it on, this is my first time actually deploying a service myself. I use Koya, but it's very simple, very easy to use. I actually strongly recommend it, not sponsored. I just use it because it's free. Right, let's give an example. So let's make a new activity. Make run. Wrong way. Save it. You can see here we got a new webhook that's running. It's getting the activities to count how many runs we've done. Then it's counted 174 and it's updated the activity name. Let's go back into it. You can refresh. Boom, renamed. Pretty cool. Yeah, overall thoughts. And then we can delete it here. Delete activity. Overall thoughts using Rust. Yeah, it's okay. I don't really recommend it for this sort of thing. The performance isn't really needed, and it's a lot of overhead that makes a lot of things just kind of inconvenient to do. For example, so I have the Strava client here, and I want to define, this like refresh and client tokens inside of it. And initially I was defining this using an endpoint where I have a register authentication endpoint, which I can hit and pass in the client tokens. Later I updated this to the environment variables, but yeah, in order to facilitate this initial design, I needed to have this arc mutex Strava client, and then I'm wrapping that inside of a state so that the state, you can see the server state is here. So I have to like quadruple nest this Strava client just to pass it in between these objects, when really I just want to be able to I just want to create it and then pass the same instance to all of them, because after I create it initially, I want them all to point to the same object. And I understand the safety concerns in a multi-threaded environment, blah, blah, blah. But for my case, these aren't relevant. And yeah, it's just annoying. And yeah, I find I run into a lot of friction with just the types not being what I want them to be. And yeah, I'm kind of skillish. I'm not a big fan of how the folder structure, these mod stuff works. But it was all right. I mean, the Axum, these libraries I was using, like the Axum stuff, is pretty convenient. Pretty easy to use and get set up with. This was mostly done without AI. There's a few things like the Docker file completely written with AI. I can't lie. Yeah, but for the most part, like I wrote it myself and it was pretty intuitive. Some stuff not at all. Like having to include this in the main function does not make sense to me. But yeah, overall Rust, okay. Strava client, good, and it's pretty adaptable. I feel like I can change it in future to meet any of my Strava needs. Thanks for watching.